I like to, because I have you guys here all in one group, I like to start off with microchipping the horse and registering the horse and how that process should take place to make a smooth transition and to save you later from having to re-DNA type your horse or have any kind of question about your horse's identity when it gets to the sales ground or the racetrack. I know everybody's here to hear about digital certificates, and we're going to cover that completely. But also, as you all know, microchipping is relatively new to the thoroughbred and as a requirement for registration started in 2017. So with that, it's really important that you follow the steps that we've outlined. The video is on our registry website, as well as the PDF form is available there too. The PDF is that little document that you get with every registration kit. I think you just got a registration kit. It gives you step by step how you should go about registering each and every foal to make sure that the hair sample matches the chip number that you put in that horse, matches the photos, matches the ID of the horse, and that is how you will verify and guarantee that you won't have issues later with the identity of the horse. So I don't know how many of you have a Jockey Club Interactive account and use that to register your foals. Can I see? Okay. So you're all familiar pretty much with this site. If you don't already have a Jockey Club Interactive account, you will have to have one to receive your certificates of full registration beginning with the full crop of 2018. If you can call us. If you don't know if you have an interactive account, you would have had to have signed up for it, and we'll be able to, if you call us, we can look it up for you and let you know. But if you don't have one, I would encourage you to go to registry.jockeyclub.com. That'll take you to this site, and you would click here where it says sign up. And if you do have one, of course, you log on here. We put this 3-minute video out at the end of 16, or maybe the beginning of 17, to let people know exactly the process. And I would encourage you to, if you haven't looked at it, you're going to see it today. And I would encourage you to let everybody you know, please watch the video, and I think it'll make a lot more sense. So with that said, we're just going to start with the video, and then we'll go right on into digital certificates, just 3 minutes. So I want to try to not make a lot of noise there.
Beginning with foals born in 2017, registering your thoroughbred now requires the implant of a microchip and the reporting of the microchip number to the Jockey Club. Microchips are a fast, safe, and effective measure for enhancing the identification of thoroughbred racehorses. And when coupled with official written markings, microchips will improve the efficiency and reliability of the identification process throughout the life of every thoroughbred. So, you've received your registration packet from the Jockey Club. What is the best procedure to identify your foal? Pull a sample for DNA parentage testing and insert the microchip. The microchip is to be implanted first, prior to the DNA sampling and identification. It can be done minutes, days, or even months before the other 2 steps. As always, it's important that a DNA sample is pulled and the foal's markings recorded in the same setting. 1 foal at a time. Use a microchip reader and scan the foal to verify no chip has been implanted previously. Next, scan the chip to ensure its readability and verify the number to the labels provided in the package and that chip. Implant the chip. The microchip is intended for use by a licensed veterinarian or by trained veterinary personnel under the supervision of a veterinarian. Following the insert of the chip, use the reader again to scan the foal to verify the chip is still readable. Attach the labels, one to the front and one to the back of the registration application before proceeding with collecting the DNA typing sample and recording markings. Use the reader to scan the foal. Verify that the Datamars label number placed on the registration application is the same as the number for the foal as indicated on the reader's screen. Pull the DNA sample from the foal that matches the pedigree information printed on the sampling kit. Pull 30 to 50 hairs from the mane or tail making sure to obtain root bulb, and place the hair sample in the appropriately marked envelope. Photograph the foal. Be sure the foal is clean and on a solid surface. Use a signboard to indicate the year of birth and dam's name. Include at least one photo of scanned chip number alongside the pedigree of the foal as shown. Record the markings on the registration application. As in the past, be sure to include the sex, color, all white markings, head and neck cowlicks. And beginning with the 2017 foal crop, the microchip number must be reported to the registry office. Seal a pre-printed envelope and mail the DNA sample to the laboratory. Mail the registration materials to the Jockey Club offices or submit the registration application online at registry.jockeyclub.com.
Okay, if we can switch this. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yes, sir. No, sir. We have never eliminated a signboard. That you have a signboard, but it's absolutely necessary that you put a signboard. If you have, especially if you're submitting these online, and they go back and they have photos of all of the horses that they did that day, how many no white markings or gray horses or few white markings horses do they have? It's really easy to pick the wrong horse and register the wrong horse. So it's always important that at least in one photograph of the horse that you're doing that day, that you include a signboard with that. We encourage that whether you're doing a corrected certificate, a duplicate certificate, or a certificate for the first time. Yes, ma'am. You can get those on our website if you hover. Let's see, right here. You'll see over under other links, right down here is microchip facts. If you go to there, you can get it there. You can get them from a lot of different places, but they do offer you guys, I think, $10 off, and it's like $250 for the reader. But that's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, it's fine. Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions about full registration? It's the nuchal ligament on the left side. If you find that, if you'll let me know that and send the papers back, then I can add a line that says report to be microchip with number blah 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 on right side. Yes, I would do that because nobody's going to know that unless they're looking at the certificate. So, I mean, that's important. Also, if you have Canadian foals that come down here, some of the Canadians are actually microchipping in the nasal area between the nostrils. They have the option up there as to whether they want to do that or not. It was not our recommendation, but they do have that option. If they report it to us that way, we will record on the certificate, reported to be microchipped in nasal area. So you may see that sometimes. If you don't find it in the nuchal ligament and you see it's from Canada, go ahead and scan between the nostrils and see if it's there.
This little data link,
The scanner?
the scanner, if we don't have the vet do it all, then we have to buy that, don't we?
Well, all of the Datamars recommendations are that the chip is implanted by a licensed veterinarian or under the supervision of a licensed veterinarian. And when they are chipping those horses, they typically would come with a scanner. They'll come to the farm with a scanner. It's been the experience that I've seen. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
This is probably on the next topic, but if you sent in a set of papers to have that caveat added, do you reissue a digital certificate?
Yes, when I get to digital certificates, what I'll do is ask you to hold your questions until the end, because a lot of the things that you'll ask me while I'm giving the presentation will be actually answered during the presentation. So at the end of that, we'll have all the questions you want to ask. Does anybody have any other questions about microchipping and DNA typing your horse?
How soon do you have to have that done?
You have 1 year from the foaling date to complete all of your requirements at the registration fee of $225. After that date passes, then the fee goes up. So you want to try to get it done that first year of life. Yes, ma'am. You mean if you send it in manually? If you did it online? We're not going to not register your horse because you didn't use a signboard, but we would like for you to always use a signboard in the future. Yeah, we're not going to keep your foal from being registered. Yes, ma'am? Well, I mean, that's fine, but the purpose of the signboard is that the horse that you're photographing that day belongs to that pedigree. So, and it can be anything. It can be a little chalkboard. You can take a notebook and set it so it's like an easel on the ground if you only have one person to hold the horse, and set it on the ground. You just need a Sharpie and some white paper. So, I mean, that helps us say who you said you sent in, but for your benefit, it's going to always be better to take the photograph with the signboard in the photograph. Doesn't have to be in every photograph, but at least a couple of them so that you can identify which horse you actually just pulled that hair sample from. Okay? All right, so now we're going to move on to digital certificates. And again, I just ask you to hold your questions until the end because they very well may get answered during the presentation. So you log on to your, I'm going to be really loud there. Okay. You log on to your Jockey Club Interactive account here. And as most of you have already seen probably, if you have a Jockey Club Interactive account, you would register your foals here. Under all of this registration, report your live foal, report no foal, submit an application, which is where you would submit your interactive application. The only thing that has changed on the submit an application for foals of 2018 and forward is step 4. Step 4 used to ask you, where do you want the Jockey Club to mail the papers once the foal is issued? Then now it's replaced with, who do you want to choose as the manager of your certificate, the digital certificate manager. It's no different really, and what I try to make people understand from the beginning is that this has nothing to do with ownership, has nothing to do with partnerships or breeder information. It is simply where you would normally mail those papers to, whoever you would normally mail them to, they will need a Jockey Club Interactive account, and you'll need to be able to digitally assign the certificate to them. Whether that's you would choose same as my account. If you're submitting your application online for your own foals, you just choose same as my account. It's going to pop right into your digital certificate box when it's completed. Once we issue a digital certificate to you, whoever we issue it to, if I issue it to the same as my account, you will get an email that says you've got a new digital certificate, give you a link to click. It'll take you right to your Jockey Club Interactive account, and it'll take you here, and you will click on this new box that probably you've noticed if you use this thing a lot. Does anybody have any foals that are already registered this year? Anybody? Did you use same as my account? You send them, oh, okay. The same thing will work right now if you have a foal that's consigned to a sale, and you probably already know this. Regardless of what you put in there, the certificate will most of the time go right to the sales company. And that's for everybody's benefit. But so if you send it to them, they've got them in their inbox. But if you click, once you have foals that you have registered and you click this certificate management, if you click it today and you don't have any registered, it's going to say you don't have any digital certificates assigned to you yet. Once you do have digital certificates assigned to you, it'll look like this. And then I can scroll. And you can see that the bar scrolls with the, this is Calumet Farm. You can see they've registered a lot of foals already this year. The search bar that's at the top will scroll as you scroll down so that you always know what column you're on. You can sort this by horse name. You can sort it by the mare's name. So if you click the dam, then you're going to see it's going to sort those alphabetically. You can sort it by registration number, by stallion, also by gender, and of course what's probably going to be most beneficial to farms that have a lot of different breeders and are handling certificates for a lot of different clients, you can sort by breeder. So this is where your certificates actually live. This is no different than if you had paper certificates in a file drawer and you open that file drawer, except for that you can sort them any way you want, anytime you want. So when you look at the certificates, if you choose one of the horses and you just click on that, and it'll show you the digital certificate for that particular horse. And you'll see that at the top it has the pedigree of the horse, the registration number. There's an assign certificate button and a cancel button. And here is the certificate. This is the certificate of full registration for this horse. The only person that holds that certificate right now is Calumet Farm. And me at the moment, but Calumet Farm is the digital certificate manager of this horse, and until they move it somewhere, it stays in their Jockey Club Interactive box. As soon as they assign it to another person, it disappears from their box, and that person gets an email, and it shows up in their box. So if you take the certificate and you look at the bottom, there's a certificate history, and you'll see that on 8/20 we issued this set of Jockey Club certificate papers for this horse, and we sent them to Calumet Farm. If Calumet Farm sends those papers to Keeneland tomorrow, within 30 seconds, this history will change, and Keeneland will see, when they pull it up, they'll see the history that on 8/20 it went to Calumet, and today it went to Keeneland, and when they send it to the new owner, the new owner will see that history as well. When you name a horse now, instead of getting a name tag for the horse, the name will automatically just appear on the certificate. So you'll get a notification that the name's been approved, or you can look in your naming history and see that the name has been approved, and it will automatically appear on the certificate. So I'm just going to go through the different ways to assign the certificate, and we're just going to, and this also works on an iPad, Android tablet, or your iPhone. It works on all of those. And I think, Tim, to your question, I think even the older ones, because it's an internet-based, I think you can probably still do it on some of those older ones. I don't know how old, but I'm not sure about that, but you might try it. Then you would just click on where it says Assign Certificate, and when you do that, it gives you the option to hit this little drop-down box, and you can assign it to an individual or an entity. You can assign it to a sales company, you can assign it to the racetrack, or you can assign it back to the Jockey Club office. If you choose to send it back to us, you would click the Jockey Club office, and as you can see, it'll give you the radio buttons to choose why you're sending it back to us. What happens when you do that is it actually comes to an email that I manage with about 3 other people, so that somebody's always there to be able to receive them, and we'll look at it, it'll tell us why you're sending it back, and then we will forward that directly to that department. So if it's a corrected certificate, it will come back to me, an export would go to our foreign department, a name change would go back to our naming department, and then we have a couple of people that manage retired from racing horses. Any other reason that you would send it back, we give you another button. I can't imagine why, but it's there in case we need it. So that's how that would work. If you need to send it back to us, you simply choose one of those reasons and send it back. You would then click Assign. Well, I can just show you. So let's say we're going to send it to me because the color's wrong or whatever, and you have to submit a correction. You would choose Correction, then you would choose Assign Certificate. Anytime you're going to assign a certificate to another entity, then you can choose to update the owner if you want to. This mimics turning the papers over and signing them over on the back. We are not an ownership registry. I think you all probably know that. A lot of you have quarter horses too. They are. We are not. So this is just information and data that you're supplying to the Jockey Club. And what it does for us is gives us the most recent contact information for that horse. So you can choose to update the owner. And if you do that, you would click here. And then you can, if say you're assigning a certificate and you want to make yourself the owner, you weren't before, you can of course choose Same as My Account, or you can search here for a new owner. And if you do that, you just start typing in whoever your new owner is. The developers are currently working on speeding this process up, but if you can imagine, our database of owners and breeders is quite large. And not only is John Smith in there, but John Smith and Mary Jones, and John Smith and Mary Jones and Ramsey Farm. So we have a lot that's searching through a lot of data here. And they are working on speeding that up right now. So that's my biggest nemesis at this moment. And rest assured, we're working on that. Yes, ma'am. Are you talking about for assigning owners or assigning a digital certificate manager? A digital certificate manager, you would only be able to mail a set of papers to one address. So a digital certificate manager can only be one entity, okay? It's the same thing. For as far as owners go, it's going to show you all the partnerships that we already have in the database. And if there is not one, once it quits spinning, I'll show you how to go to add a new owner. And all it does is it takes you to the transfer of ownership that's already built within interactive registration, and you would just assign it to whoever, whatever your partnership you want. So you'll always be able to, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Just like if you wanted to go online and transfer ownership and let us know that today, you would click on transfer ownership, and it'll take you to that transfer of ownership screen and allow you to submit that partnership or individual person. Yeah, I'm really sorry. This will be part you edit. And we are, yes, sir. Yes, the racetracks, if the horses' certificates are assigned to the racetrack, then it'll be up to the racetrack, just like it is today, to assign the certificate to whoever, whatever the new owner is. If the horse is going to stay at the track. They would, in that case, they would just go to transfer of ownership until they're ready to actually move the certificate. So the new owner's ready to leave the track. Normally they would sign it over on the back and hand it to him. Now they'll digitally assign it. Well, the racetracks already do have an account. Yes. The accounts that are built in here, let me see if I can choose somebody a little faster. Fido Johnson. The accounts that are built in here as far as being a digital certificate manager are people that we took that already have a Jockey Club Interactive account and have actually used it in the last 3 years. So it's a large number. If you haven't used your interactive account for over 3 years, you may still very well have one, but you won't come up as an automatic digital certificate manager when somebody tries to assign a certificate to you. But in that case, I'll show you what you do. You click name not found, and you tell us who it's going to. I don't know if this is, they may be working on this today actually, because it's the weekend and they try to do those things. So I would like to show you this part, but I think we're going to back out of here and we may try again. Oh, there you go. They just left as my account, same as my account. So once you've gotten past the do you wish to change the owner, update the owner screen, then you're going to get to the screen that says, okay, you want to update the owner to Calumet Farm, which is not really who we were trying to choose. But once you've done that, you will click on the next screen, takes you to the final assignment button. This is like your review screen. So it's going to tell you that for the 2018 Colt by English Channel out of AP's Hidden Honey, the certificate manager is going to be updated to the Jockey Club. If I were to click this assign button here, that I would immediately get an email at the Jockey Club that says you got a new certificate, it's here for correction, send it where it needs to go, and it would disappear from Calumet's box. We're not going to do that because I don't want them to be angry. So, all right, now we're going to take, one of my favorites is Red Kitty. So we're going to take another certificate, and it's the same thing. You can see it's just the same. Certificate went to Calumet in June. We're going to click Assign Certificate. And here we're going to choose a sales company. Oh, you know why? Because this is TTA. So this is a much quicker search, of course, because it's limited to just sales companies, and you can't put another one in there. This name not found button we've asked them to take out because we don't want people trying to commit. It's actually there, but you can't do anything with it. But we've asked them to take that out because we don't want people creating new sales companies. We'll go back here. So if you choose to send it to a sales company, get in the right field. And you see TTA sales in Grand Prairie, Texas comes up, so I click on that and I click Assign Certificate. Again, it's going to ask me if I want to update the owner. I'm not going to go through that because it's searching too long. And then once I've done that, again, I click done. You're getting ready to send it to the sales company. Is that really what you want to do? You click assign certificate. You want to be careful if you want to keep a copy of your certificate, you can certainly do that. If you, there it is. If you do that, when you go to print the certificate, at the top of the certificate, I don't know if you can see that, but see where it says copy above the Jockey Club insignia? I don't know if I can blow that up. Can I blow that up, Susan? I don't guess so. But anyway, it says copy right here, so that no matter how pretty the paper is, it's a copy. It's not the actual certificate, and just know that. If you don't make the copy before you send it, you can't pull it back. You're going to have to get it from whoever you send it to. Yes, sir? What do you do today?
If I have a 2-year-old next year that microchip,
Yes, sir.
I'm a trainer, I gotta get a hold of that owner to send papers.
What happens today? What happens with your owners today? How do you get the papers to the racetrack today? So that your owner gives it to the trainer, and
The owner don't even know this is happening. He required that trainer to make sure the papers are kept.
so the same thing. If you are going to be in charge of housing the papers or carrying them around with you, then you will need a Jockey Club Interactive account. And if it's easier for you to do it with an iPad, that's what I would do. Then they will assign the certificates to you. They can assign it to you, or they can assign it directly to the racetrack, which we're going to show next is when we go to the racetrack. So we assign this certificate. Say this horse is going to go to racetrack. So I'm the owner of the horse in this particular case. If your owners hand you papers, then you're going to need to have an interactive account so that they can assign those to you. Once you have the papers, do you then turn them into the racing office?
So the trainer is gotta keep track of all the papers.
It's up to you. It's whatever you do now, you'll mimic in the future. So if I'm the owner and I'm going to send my horse to the racetrack, then I'm going to choose to take that horse and assign his certificate directly to the racetrack. This horse is going to Belmont Park. When I click assign certificate, again, it gives me the ability to update the owner if I want to do that. And if I don't want to do that, the next screen says who's the trainer. And so then I'm going to search for trainer. And then once it finds the trainer, I'm going to choose that trainer. They must be working on this today. Should have told them I'm going to be down here.
What you're saying is each, like, just like now, where at the racetrack, you have a trainer's file, and paper movement out of that trainer's file. So what they're saying here is they'll assign it to the racetrack first,
Correct.
and then a subset will go to the trainer.
Correct.
But the part that I think you're questioning is, for your 2-year-old, theoretically, when those 2-year-olds arrive in your barn that day, whenever they drop them off, that owner should assign a transfer management of that electronic paper to you. So that when you get ready to ship them to whatever track you're going to ship them to, you can then move it correct to that track.
That's exactly right, and that is very individual. Some people do not want, they never give them to the trainer. Some people always send them to the racetrack. Some people give them to their trainer, so it's as individual as that. But as you can see, when I chose Bob Baffert, now Bob Baffert there's one of, we all know that, but there are some trainers that have the same name. So it also gives you the racetrack, the date of his last start, and the horse that he last ran. So if you get 2 John Smiths in there, and this is searching just for trainers that we have loaded into the database, but if you're searching for John Smith and you're sending your horse to Santa Anita, and there's one at Santa Anita and one at Lone Star, you're going to choose the one at Santa Anita or wherever you know your trainer is. So then you're going to choose your trainer, and then once you've done that, you're going you're going to get to the review screen that says you're getting ready to send these papers to Belmont Park, and you're telling us that Mr. Baffert is the trainer. Is that right? If that's right, you click assign, boom, it's gone. Now Belmont gets an email, says you got a new digital certificate. They open it, and now in their box is not only that horse, but all the information that they need for that horse and what trainer. All it's going to do is give you the last start so that you can pick the last start that we know about for that trainer so that you can pick the right trainer. Then you would choose Santa Anita instead of Belmont. But that's the last place Mr. Baffert had a horse race. It's just telling you where he is. All it's doing is giving you as much information on him. See, it's not going to go to, if I had chosen, even though the last start he had was at Saratoga, is that what it was? Okay. Even though that's where his last start was, we know he's got horses everywhere. He's the only one. So all it's doing is telling you where the most recent start for that particular trainer is to help you try to determine which trainer you're trying to choose. With him, it's only going to be him. If I had chosen Santa Anita as my racetrack, and Bob Baffert, the trainer, said he last started at Saratoga, my papers are still going to go to Santa Anita. It's whatever track I chose in the beginning. So as you can see right here, it says certificate manager be updated to Belmont. Okay, but he was at Saratoga because I chose Belmont. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What do they do today? Then they would assign them back to him if that's what he wants. Or, okay. That's whatever their agreement with the person that brought those papers to them is. So if I assign them to Remington, and at the end of the race meet, I say, I want you to send those directly to Lone Star, then that's what they would do. They would send them to Lone Star. If they want them assigned back to that trainer, they can do that as well. Okay? You want to know where your papers are? That's a wonderful question. All right, so, and we will get to that, but we're going to go ahead and do it now because you brought it up. So right now on your Jockey Club Interactive account, anytime you go, you can check the registration status of any horse. See if it's a registered horse or if it's not a registered horse, and if it's not, what are the requirements left to complete the registration on that horse. What did I do there, Susan? There. Okay. So let's go see. And it doesn't matter what account you're on, the status will be the same here. So when you look at registration status today, we show you where we mailed the papers originally for a horse. And after that, who knows where they went. They got mailed to me, but then I gave them to you, and you gave them to her, and she sent them to a sale. So now, if you go to registration status, right here, the digital certificate is currently assigned to. You can tell where they are at any time. So there should be no reason for papers to be lost. No more duplicate certificates, except in the case where somebody abandons a horse on your farm and you need to get the papers. Yes, ma'am.
We all love technology, but let's just assume something goes awry, kind of her point, your digital certificate papers, I won't say get lost, but you can't seem to access them or find out where they are. We can always come back to the Jockey Club.
You go here to this registration status will tell you where they are.
Okay. I'm just saying, if registration status isn't working for some point, technology doesn't always work. We can always call the Jockey Club and you can override anything, correct?
I don't know what you mean by override. We could tell you where they are. Are you talking about if they get assigned somewhere accidentally they shouldn't have gone? Then you would call us immediately. Let us know immediately. We would probably have you put something in writing research to see that you actually had the certificate to assign it. So I'm sure there'll be times when people send papers, and I can show you a perfect example of that. I went to give a demonstration at Fasig-Tipton last week, and the day before, if I can remember the mayor's name, back to registration status. I think she's Darling daughter. I got to be in the field. I had received a phone call the day before from Jennifer Nethery at Keeneland. She said, I got 2 digital certificates. I don't know why I have them. They're not in my sale. So I called the customer, and they were like, oh, that horse is going to Fasig-Tipton. So I called Jennifer back, and you can see that Jennifer got the certificate. She got the certificate on, what day did I go there? Thursday, I think. Wednesday. And on Thursday, I went to Fasig-Tipton and I called her and said, can you go ahead and send those over here? And 30 seconds later, they were in Fasig-Tipton's account. So, and I can show you actually the history on that because I can pull that. Absolutely. But I mean, it's pretty specific, and it says, who do you want to send it to? Type it in here. Who do you want to make the owner? Type it in here. And then it tells you, okay, here's what you're getting ready to do. So I just, encourage you guys to make sure before you hit that last assign button that you read that. If it's not right, back up and go back to the previous screen. Yes, ma'am.
That normally has the Foal state on it. Are you going to put that back in?
Where you mean, the registration status?
That's one of the main things I use it for doing accreditations for horses.
Where was it?
It was right down there, the Foal year, and then state.
It was between foaling year and the gender?
I've got 1,000 of them at the office.
Yeah, so yeah, make a note of that and give it to me before I leave.
That was,
Yeah, because I didn't realize it ever gave you the state fold in there.
and that's something that state breed registries
Sure,
have.
sure. And we're going to talk about the state breed registries as well. I did want to just show you the history of that certificate. I'm going to log out as them. I gotta spell her name right. Okay, so here's the certificate that I was telling you about, and you can see that on 8/16 we sent it to Keeneland. Jennifer called me on 8/22. I don't know why I have these papers. And on 8/23 she sent them to Fasig-Tipton. So the history will show down there.
So anybody can search any horse?
No, sir. No, sir. You cannot see the digital certificate unless you are the digital certificate manager or an employee of the Jockey Club registry. But there are exceptions to that as well, Tim. For instance, your state organizations, which we're building right now, it is not in play, but we're building that right now, where if your foal is born in Texas, then the Texas Thoroughbred Association, on your account, you'll be able to see every horse as we register them. They'll appear in your digital certificate. I don't know if it'll be this certificate management box, but there may be another box next under digital certificates that says state bred, and then you'll click on that, and it'll give you that same list of every horse that's foaled in Texas. And then you can see the certificate. You can't assign it, but just like the certificate that we just looked at for Darling Daughter under my account, I can't assign that certificate because I'm not the digital certificate manager. But what you'll be able to see, Jennifer, is the, I'll just pull it back up here again. You'll be able to see exactly what we see. And then I anticipate, so you'll be able to, you'll have a list. You'll pull the certificate up and you'll see there's no assign button. There's a cancel button, but there's no assign button. So you can't move it. But what you'll have, what the state organizations will have, and I think it'll live right up here, will be a box that says accredited or validated or whatever. We call them entitlements. So once you've looked at the horse, you've looked at their application, and you know that they're eligible, you would have that box to click. Once you do that, your logo will appear. I'm not sure if it'll appear here on the certificate or if it'll appear right above the certificate. I sort of feel like it needs to appear here if they can get it there, because when that horse goes to the racetrack, they need to see that eligibility. Some of the state organizations actually assign a registration number once they give the accreditation or the entitlement to the horse. So I think there'll either be text right next to the logo that'll have that registration number. That's how some of them pay out their money, based on that registration number and not ours. Or you'll hover over it, and that whatever that state organization puts in will be there. The Jockey Club will not monitor that. We won't audit it. We won't do anything with it. That'll be purely the state organization's responsibility to put whatever text they want in there for that particular horse. But we will give you that ability. Yes, ma'am. Breeders' Cup is already, yes, they're working on Breeders' Cup too.